Hello, my name is Carol, and this is my final presentation for current trends in instructional tech. So, when I imagine what the future of education needs to look like, I think we need to take into account the many factors that influence education today, such as funding, recent pandemic, stuff like that. But regardless of these factors, I don't think that the future of learning needs to be super complicated. If anything, it needs to be stripped down to a more foundational place. So I think we need to focus on 21st century skills, constructivist learning theory, and then also have more of an ADDIE instructional design model basis. When I talk about 21st century skills, I'm talking about the 4 C's, specifically creativity, critical thinking, and communication and collaboration. These are 4 really essential skills that I think every person needs to have in an academic setting or an professional setting. So, in order to develop these 21st century skills, I believe that we need to have a good basis in constructivist learning theory. Constructivism is based on the idea that learners actually construct their own learning based on their previous experiences. This allows the learning process to be unique and individual for each learner. The instructor plays a more of a guiding role than like a feeding of information role. Um, and it's not just one theory, but more of a series of views. So it is also more of a foundational approach than just one very prescriptive idea. It allows students to kind of bring their own perspective into their education. So, on top of constructivism, we need to think about instructional design and what process as learning designers we would want to use in this future for learning. And I think that the ADDIE model is a great model to use as a basis for this future. The ADDIE model is a 5-phase model that consists of the 5 steps of analyzation, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. And these steps aren't like you just take the steps and then you move on. It's more of a cycle, as you can see in the image. You start with analysis, then you move on to design, development, implementation, and evaluation. And based on your results from evaluation, then you go back into analysis and make improvements in your design and development and implementation. And the process continues. And this way, the learners get to benefit from a continuously improving learning experience. And not only does that help the learner, but it also helps the instructor as well to improve their instructional practice. And on top of that, ADDIE goes really well together with constructivism because students can become engaged in the instruction and revision of the course, and not only can students learn from and with each other during implementation phase by bringing their own unique experiences to the table, but instructors also get to gather feedback from students to improve implementation and evaluation of their instructional design. And so, and engaging with the instruction's intended audience applies to constructivist strategies to the instructional design process. The emerging technology that I chose was virtual reality. Virtual reality is really interesting because it allows students to experience and have interactions that could be impossible or impractical for the real world. It's extremely immersive and captivating for students and allows them to become extremely engulfed in almost a new world or a new situation that allows them to step into new contexts. A really wonderful example I found of this was Class VR. And the reason why I chose this example was because as a language arts teacher, I always struggle to find really cool techie things that are not just STEM focused. And so when I was looking through the website for Class VR, they actually had a lot of humanities based content. So a really interesting lesson would be to allow students to immerse themselves in the setting of a story. For example, right now with my ninth graders, we're reading Romeo and Juliet. So it would be really cool to allow them to immerse themselves in Renaissance era Verona and kind of give them the chance to see what it was like and give them, more contextual experiences to the literature that they're reading. Now, some of the benefits of VR in education and learning is the engagement. Of course, kids and learners are going to love using something new and something exciting. It allows for flexibility and accessibility, especially for people who might have disabilities and may not be able to move in a field trip type situation. Going back to my last example, it allows for context learning. It allows students to immerse themselves in an environment that they may not have been able to immerse themselves in a different situation. And because it is such a unique situation, it allows for higher retention of the information that they are taking in. Of course, with the benefits, there are also concerns. Costs, because technology, and then of course with technology there comes complications. Obviously there is the potential for cognitive overload as well as health concerns, especially with ocular health. And then of course there's the concept of lack of content as well. Since it is a relatively new technology, there isn't a lot of content out there that is pre-created for instructors to use. There is some, but not as much as there is pen and paper content. And finally, my recommendations to educational technologists would be to remember that nothing is perfect, and that also remember that completely depending on one technology, such as just mobile apps or just Web 2.0 or just VR or just AR, is not going to serve learners. Having a combination of all of those things plus old school pen and paper is going to serve learners best because it is meeting all the different needs of different students. And that goes into finding a balance. And ultimately, I believe that the best combination is constructivism and ADDIE, because the cyclical form of ADDIE allows instructors to continuously improve their practice, and constructivism allows students to bring in their own experiences into their learning. Thank you.